Eye on Gauteng, brought to you by the Gauteng Department of Economic Development.
Welcome back to Eye on Gauteng. Still with us is Rashid Seedat, Graeme Gotz, and Simon Molefe. Just before the break, we were talking about what the problems are right now. But going forward, South Africa and scenario planning, it's not new to us. I mean, in 1955, we had the Freedom Charter, and people said, these are the ideals that we want to live in. These are the ideals, this is the kind of society we want to live in. And now, fast forward to 2012, we also have a similar sort of document that we want people to talk about. I want to bring Simon in here because obviously we want to find out from you the importance of things like the Freedom Charter, the importance of dreaming big for the future. How important is that?
Well, I think the importance of sustaining the Freedom Charter is that it has been able to bring peace and stability in our country. And as a guiding document of this country, it should be able to assist us to plan ahead. Because and one of the things that those who planned on the Charter in 1955, they knew that they are not doing it for themselves. They are doing it for those who are coming after them. And that's why even as a youth month in June, you will realize that in 1976, those who said they will want an access to education, they did that solely not for themselves. They knew that the generation after them, it should be able to access education. And that's why it's important that
But have you heard the saying, Simon, not yet Uhuru? We're not yet free. We still got a struggle to go.
Well, we do have freedom. However, we do not have an economic freedom. And that's why as an NYD and as a youth in the country, we are saying that there must be an agenda on economic freedom in our lifetime. And part of this planning then begins to resolve that. But what is key, Lionel, is that economic freedom, we should not do it in a way that it brings us back in terms of instability in our country. It must be within an integrated system that's able, that all parties are participating. And that's why we are continuously pleading with private sector that it's not about you owning the swimming pool continuously alone. It's you being able to say, in this big swimming pool, I can take a little bit of drop of water and give it to next door, so that they are also having the same water.
I'm sure, Rashid, you'll agree that when it comes to equitable, wealth, it's a very, very touchy and very sensitive topic. People are very touchy about it. And indeed, in our recent past, we've seen a flare-up of the opposite of social cohesion because of fighting over these resources. One of the ideals or the deliverables for 2055 is social cohesion. And in the context of equitable resources, how is the Planning Commission going to handle that?
Well, I think our view is very much as the kind of national agenda on this issue, which is that we note that after 18 years of democracy, in some instances, some of the indicators seem to be indicating that the Gini coefficient is getting worse. In other words, income inequality is worsening in spite of apartheid. Okay. And because of that, it absolutely has an impact on what happens on the ground in terms of social cohesion. So the link between poverty, deprivation and unemployment on the one hand and social cohesion on the other is absolute. I mean, there's no two ways about it. And we have to, when we fix it, we have to fix both of them simultaneously. It's not like there's a sort of a dual causality, if you like, on both sides. So we have to make sure that we are dealing with the problems of unemployment in a sustainable way. There are decent jobs.
Is it possible to have equitability without a little bit of upheaval? Because somebody's got to have a carrot and somebody's got to have a stick.
No, I think there's a difference between equal and equitable, if you see what I'm saying. I think that not everyone, look, I don't think there's any society where you're going to have complete equality, right? But at least it's equitable, where the vast majority are enjoying, the kind of middle layer, which is 80% of the population basically have similar living standards. That's what we basically do.
Okay. Graeme, let's talk about public participation, because there's a Twitter page, there's a Facebook page for the young ones, but then there's also academics that need to give their input and say, look, in the year 2055, this is the kind of Gauteng I would like to see myself living in. Talk to us about how you are going to engineer that public participation.
Sure. I mean, I might just want to say that GCRO doesn't necessarily sit in charge of that particular process.
Okay.
Our expertise.
What's the thinking?
Yeah, but I can talk to it. I think just to say that public participation is an absolutely critical part of this planning process, but it's also something that we would want to say is a key outcome of the plan. We would like a government looking forward to 2055 to be one that is much more responsive to citizens' needs, that looks to various technological opportunities that are currently being generated in order to facilitate participation, and more than anything creates an active citizenry where citizens are enabled and empowered to be part of their government. So I think this process has been deliberately designed in order to ensure that public participation as an ideal is represented in the process. So there's going to be a number of different mechanisms.
I think key to this process, it's going back to the basics, the will of the people. And that's why the Premier will say, let's have a discussion. And I think that the provincial government under the Premier, Nomvula Mokonyane, it's advancing the will of the people, going back to the basics of what makes us to have this stability in our country.
Are your constituencies excited about such public participation?
Well, of course, our constituency is excited about public participation. And of course, one thing that the document accepts is that, yes, we can plan ahead, but our people want to know what is it that they're going to eat today. What is it that they're going to eat tomorrow? Because those are reality. If I finish my matric next day, where am I going? And I think one of the things that the province have been able to put aside is to say, yes, we're planning ahead, but can we put 100 million rand, for an example, aside for those who are finishing matric to go to universities? And I think that on that way, the young people are now getting excited that government is integrating them in terms of the present and even the future.
Rashid, I'm sure you are going to come across this inevitably, because people want to know what needs can be met of them now. And you will be asking them to say, no, dream a little, think about 2055. But at the same time, scenario planning and future long-term planning is critical for the success of any nation. How are you going to balance the two? Because inevitably this is going to come out.
You know, I think you can actually look at it from the kind of opposite perspective. And let me explain what I mean. Governments around the world traditionally have a short-term view of things. They're looking at the next sort of election cycle and basically planning for that, and they focus delivery on the next election. What we're saying is, and in fact, that's happening at the moment. I mean, as Simon just said now, I mean, I think that we're looking, as the Gauteng provincial government, as government in the country as a whole, we're looking at what people are saying on an ongoing basis through a variety of mechanisms. You know, whether it's kind of, feedback, Izimbizo, whatever. Right? But I'm saying that, in fact, the ability to plan for the long term, you inevitably raise the kind of question. But we have to say to people that it's not only about the next couple of years. How do we actually think about where the country is going to for future generations? So I think that we have to hold the argument that listen, this is about our collective future.
Okay, so coming your way soon, and this is for the people at home, the Gauteng 2055 document. You are going to be asked to answer questions. And before we close, I want to ask each and every one of you, I don't know if you'll be still around in 2055. I plan on being around myself. But I do know that my son and my daughter would be. And just in a quick sentence, what kind of world do you want your son or your daughter or your children to see in 2055? Starting with you, Graeme.
No, I think that's really important. We're doing this for our children. And for me, I hope that my son will be able to live in a society which is a lot more equitable than it is at the moment, where opportunities are open to all, and which is fundamentally sustainable. Which doesn't live beyond its means, as we're doing at the moment, or we are facing a future.
Okay, that's for your children. Rashid?
Yeah, I mean, for my two kids, I basically want them to have a future where they feel safe and secure. They can walk around the suburbs, completely free. It's completely non-racial, equitable. I mean, that's the sort of future that I'm looking forward to.
Fantastic.
Well,
do you have any kids
No, I do have kids, but because my work is to work for all the kids, including their kids, I will want to see the situation where the children of Africa are able to have access to education, are able to have access to opportunities. And both black and white are able to say in 2055, we're 100 years celebrating the Freedom Charter, and we are achieving the Freedom Charter. And that will be a good centenary, and will have not failed the ancestors of this revolution.